Hello, everybody, and welcome to Drive to Win. I'm Justin Bell. I'm your host, and I'm here in the beautiful SiriusXM studios at the Wynn Las Vegas. But I wish I had been in Brazil over the weekend. I've got to say, there was so much going on. I was so excited to watch it. I watched every session because it is one of those places that the spirit of Formula One is so alive. Well, my guest this week is Tony Kanaan, and you know him from IndyCar. He's an IndyCar champion, an amazing driver, and is now the team principal at McLaren Arrow McLaren Racing here in the States. But he's also Brazilian, a very proud one, and is part of that whole scene. So I just want his insight on how it went over there, and I think it's going to be a good one. Well, Interlagos, it just sounds racy, doesn't it? And it's one of the stalwarts of the Formula One calendar and history. I mean, some of the best clashes have happened there in racing, some of the best overtakings, some of the best comeback drives, best battles in every way. It's just a magnificent track, and I always meant to head there, but I never quite did it. Well, it was a sprint weekend. And as we predicted, a very pivotal one for Lando Norris. I said on last week's show, he had to go into this race really trying to assert his dominance and make sure that he could put himself in an unassailable position for the championship. And he certainly did it, didn't he? And sprint, he got pole, and then he got the win in the sprint race. And he really did sort of show his mettle, in my opinion, on holding off, charging Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes. And he was on soft tires to take the win. And I think that's really important because Antonelli, his role of coming of age in a way was also reflected in the sprint race and then in the main race too. So, of course, the sprint, once you get it unpacked and maximum points for Lando, you start to think about the main race and obviously qualifying coming immediately after that on the Saturday. It was great. The qualifying for me was a bit of a shock. When Max Verstappen absolutely has a crappy time and genuinely qualifies in 16th just with a cascade of poor tire management, poor decision strategically, and you just go, no, he's about to pull a lap out. He always does at the end, and then he didn't. And they really messed him on that one. So they did the right thing, which was just almost take force majeure and say, I'm going to start from the pit lane, which meant they could change the power plant. I mean, just think about it. Very good strategically to get a fresh power plant for these last four races. So I don't think all was lost in their mind. And also you got Max behind the wheel, so it's going to be good. Now, so Lando on the front row. Lining up alongside him is Kimi Antonelli, and boy, oh boy, is he quick and showing his stuff. But Oscar was lining up behind him in fourth. From Oscar's point of view, you're going, well, this can't be too bad. I should have been on pole. Then I could have controlled the race because we all know that's the key. But he didn't. He knew he had to go forwards, and I think that maketh a dangerous man. But we'll see about that when the race started. Now, it was going to be an epic race, and it delivered. So, what I want to think about with Lando is it was a clean sweep. First person to do that since Max Verstappen in Austria in 2023. And a clean sweep in every session in qualifying, in sprint, sprint pole, sprint wins, qualifying for the main race, an overall win. I mean, it's unbelievable that he did that, which is just a total sign of his dominance right now in a way. Now, what we're finding, of course, is leading a championship does take a different type of nerves of steel. You just ask Oscar because he knows what that was like. He led for 15 rounds. And Lando with 7 wins this season so far, you've got to say that he is coming together as the complete driver, whether you like him or not. I guess the question would be, and I think Lando posed that at the end, if Max had started higher, I mean, would he have won? You just don't know. It's like going back in time and changing the course of history can have very different results. But he certainly had the pace there. Of course, handling the pressure without making a mistake, that's a learned skill, and he's done it in karting all the way through. It's a state of mind, and he knows he doesn't have that championship trophy in his hands. He just has to compartmentalize each race as he moves forward, and like as a standalone project. That's the key. He just can't be deviated. I'm looking forward to talking to Tony about that, and he's getting himself right to the front, and I've kind of swapped allegiance a bit on it because I was in a way really rooting for Oscar because I just thought he was the stronger driver, but now I mean, I don't mean to be a fair weather fan, but I think I've got to admire him for digging deep and fighting his demons and coming out on top. And I guess with Vegas coming up, we're going to be able to answer this question in a lot better detail when we get to that. But here's a thought. And Jeremiah, my producer, really brought this up yesterday. It's about the nature of the sport fan, isn't it? And you are all very interesting people, because not long ago, we were lamenting the dominance of Max. We were like, God, this is boring. My gosh, Max on pole. I started Max on for the victory on the top step of the podium. I remember we started every single show by going, Max wins. I didn't even need to tell you. It was just Max wins. And then, of course, it became boring. But we were also then, in contrast, talking about Lando. We're like, does he have the balls to be a real racing driver, to win Grand Prix, to win a championship? Is he as tough? We were looking at his weaknesses, but we were kind of like, go get him, boy. You can do it. We were running up behind him. And then, was that because he's a sweet kid? I think it was, but we liked his personalities. And then this year, with Oscar sort of dominating him, we started to write Lando off as a bit too weak and a bit too soft. And not much is changing from his point of view, but it was just the results on track. And I was like, Oscar, here's the one. Here's another Max. And then the tide changed. Lando became the favorite. He started winning races ahead of his teammate, Oscar. And Oscar, who crumbled for whatever reason, and I think they will be analyzing that all through the winter, it doesn't matter how you phrase it. His year has crumbled after those, as I said, leading it for so long. But now Lando's in the lead. The popular position, seems to be with Max. Now, I know everybody here is a massive Max fan, but as am I. But it's so funny because Max used to get booed and Lando cheered. Now, on the podium, Lando was getting booed and they were cheering for Max as he got out of his car. Exactly the opposite of what they were doing a few months ago. Why do we love the underdog so much? I really don't know. I think it's part of us and it can flip-flop from day to day. Maybe we need to do like a research study on the intellect, not the intellect, but the emotional vulnerability or viability of a sports fan. But if I was Lando, shut your ears, just do what you need to do. So just how good was Max's drive? Kind of outworldly, really. The pit lane start. And starting from the pit lane, I was just watching a video this morning my dad sent me. And you just watch him, the cars have all gone. He cannot go until the last car has cleared the start-finish line. And off he goes. And he's like sideways in the pit lane, all the way in the pit lane exit. He is on it, guys. It was spectacular to see. He caught Lewis by halfway around the lap, as you would do. They're bunched up at the back. But just hearing his conversation, the dialogue from GP, it's just absolutely systematic. Lewis is in front, Bortoleto's in the wall, and then he goes and says, it'll be a full safety for sure. Just his ability, again, back to that bandwidth, his ability to analyze everything that's going on. There was no doubt he was going to crush his way through the tires, through the field. And his feel on those soft tires, that's another thing we should talk about. He, lap after lap, exploiting them to the maximum without going over. You could see his car twitching. It was sublime to watch, actually. And I'm sure the rivals look on in wonder, going, how is he doing it? And he's in turbulent air. And he's overtaking on the dirty side of the track. I mean, it's only the 8th time a driver has got to the podium from a pit lane start. And that wasn't Lewis, since 2014. Sensing a trend here? Don't write Lewis off. He's definitely one of the best because his name keeps getting mentioned as a benchmark for some of the brilliant drives of history. My favorite moment, and it made me laugh, was when GP came on and said, P2 is on Max, and he just went, yeah, we got nothing to lose. Now that's a dangerous man, isn't it? When Max Verstappen knows he has nothing to lose, it made me laugh. I mean, fuel was going down, the car's getting lighter, and I maintain it again. We're living it right now, but one day we're going to look back, and I'm going to look back on this era in the same way that media did, who got to reflect and talk about Senna's performances. It's unbelievable. It's not Senna, it's not Schumacher, it's just Max. Kind of a combo of them both. I don't know about you, but I absolutely loved Kimi Antonelli's whole weekend. It was impressive. He had a touch, little touch with Oscar on the restart, and then obviously Leclerc, and we can analyze that to death a bit later with Tony. But it was his second podium. More importantly, he seemed to enjoy it out there. His placement of the car was super confident. I mean, I know in Miami he got sprint pole. Front row in Brazil is just another reflection of how fast he was twice, I think coming to a track he doesn't know might almost be a bit liberating. He's not bound by the pressure of, you were here last year and you got third, you should be second this year. I think he came in absolutely fresh off the sim. Obviously, there's a million miles of data for him to look at. And it gave him a little bit of a carefree atmosphere to approaching his race. And it really does show the belief in his talent by Mercedes-Benz. And because, yes, they've been pushing him. Yes, Toto gave him a kick up at the arse in Monza on his lack of performance, and he expects to know more. But he's a kid. He's a teenager. He needs a father figure that says, almost cuts him down a bit to motivate him to move forward. He seems to like low grip. The Mercedes likes the cooler temperatures. It was amazing feeling confidence. And the real testament was at the end of the race, being pursued by Max like that. Max having caught through the entire field. And literally Antonelli's on for the best result of his career. And you've got a 7-time world champion in your mirrors, trying everything he can. There is a moment, though, guys, that that the pursuer, there's a downhill curve. The momentum goes two ways. It goes up and then it goes down. But I mean, he's probably, you definitely know he's Kimi's hero as well as Lewis is. But being right there with Max behind you must have been like, I don't know, headlining for, being the support act for Sting or something, kind of very intimidating, but he did it. And I don't know what 2026 will hold, but I know it's going to be pretty amazing. And how will George react from the threat from within? We will have to see. Wynn Las Vegas's Ultimate Race Week is not only back for 2025, it's about to happen, and it's anchored by the Formula One Heineken Silver Las Vegas Grand Prix. We are now just 1 week away as everything takes place November 20th through November 23rd. From immersive pop-ups and branded takeovers to A-list performances and thrilling views of the circuit, Wynn Las Vegas puts you right in the center of it all. For more information regarding room and ticket packages, visit winlasvegas.com. That's winlasvegas.com. Well, one man that knows a lot about that track, knows a lot about being a Brazilian and all that entails, the pressure of the past and the expectations for the future, is Tony Kanaan. He's a proud Brazilian. He's super fast, ridiculously fit, actually annoyingly so, whole of his career. He is best known for racing in kart from 1998 to 2002. IndyCar Series from 2002 to 2023. That is an amazingly long career. The 2004 IndyCar Series Champion, and he won the Indy 500 in 2013. He's now team principal of Arrow McLaren. Well, Tony, how have you been, my friend? Welcome to Drive to Win.
I have to say, you make it in life when Justin Bell texts you and says, you want to be on my podcast. I mean, I thought I was never going to make it, but good.
I was waiting for you to finally get a real job. As you just said, you now have a real job every day. And I've got to say, you look like Dr. Evil sitting in that office. It's a wonderful thing.
I mean, I shaved and everything just to be on your podcast. I had to look presentable, but Justin, obviously, I tell people all the time nowadays that I found a real job at 50, but enjoying it a lot. It's just a lot different than this is a different chair, as you know, because a lot of people that I talked to them both sides, and I'm glad that I lasted as long as I did on the racing part, because this is fun, but not as much fun.
It's not, but you have to find it. We've swapped different chairs. You're right. One's where we lie down a bit, for one's where we sit up a bit. But as you just mentioned quickly, obviously happy birthday to our great friend Gilles de Ferran today. And he was very responsible for encouraging you to pursue the team leadership route, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, we were obviously, as you know, we all are, the three of us, and more. A couple more guys, really close friends. And Gilles since he retired much earlier than I did, it was always a guy that I looked for advice. We talked. Obviously, we're both from Brazil, and when Bill obviously owned a couple teams. If people don't know his history, just you guys can search it. But he was like, "What do you want to do after you retire?" I'm like, "Well, I wanted to still be involved in racing." And he was already at McLaren, and he kind of talked to Zach about, maybe an opportunity here. And I chat with Zach, and I started not as a team principal. Obviously, I was a driver consultant, and then evolved from the end of May 23 after I retired to now. I kept growing. And my second job, I had 3 different job descriptions here. My second one was more Gilles' suggestion and guidance. And unfortunately, he didn't leave to see the real one, because I think, to be fair, Justin, as we had talks, his plan probably was, he lived in America, Angela and the kids, but I think Gilles was going to be in my place in a couple of years after they win a championship and a constructor, and I'm probably going to be working under him. Unfortunately, he didn't live to see it. But
yeah. Well, I thought, how special was it on the podium for Lando, right?
Yeah,
for him him to credit Gilles, that was fabulous.
And we talk about this quite a bit. It's so tough when you only get recognized after you passed, but that wasn't the case. That tells you how much important Gilles was to a lot of people, but also to that team. I mean, there is not one time that they don't thank him, contributed. And you and I both know a lot more than probably the listeners how much of a pain and anal and obsessed Gilles was. So, and that's what probably he was a big help for McLaren's next success. That, again, he didn't get to see it. But yeah, hearing Lando, I kind of got emotional, because obviously, it was in Sao Paulo. It was Gilles' country, and pretty cool to see. Lando remembering everyone about it.
Yeah. And then to see Anna doing the DJing on the start.
Man,
wow. How was that for you?
You've
known her since she was a baby. You held her.
I was holding on that, because I think if people don't know for how long we both know each other, I've known Anna since she was Angela was pregnant. So it makes me feel old, but makes me feel proud to see also something that, she's still involved in racing, which she's never really raced or anything like that, but in a pretty good spot, and representing you with the fair and sixth shirt. Yeah. I mean, it's so cool.
Yeah. Whew. Well, we'll shake that off and talk about being in Brazil. What a weekend. I mean, your home country. Formula One has a place in Brazil. I think there's many countries that can say they have a sort of spiritual home for Formula One, but Brazil is one of those. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, well, obviously you're asking a Brazilian, but yes, I think if you look at I grew up in that racetrack. I mean, I've spent my entire childhood there, but look at the race itself. Let's talk about the race, Justin. It never phases to amaze that every time some drama will happen, weather-wise, and Formula One does not even change the date, because we know that the weather is very not very trustworthy over there any time of the year. But the racetrack, it creates, for some reason, it's challenging and creates such a great race. So to me, I was proud, because I remember growing up there and driving that track. On my first ever race car I drove was in that track, watching Senna, his quest of winning his first race there, then Massa going for the championship that year. So but it always brings something, and those are the things that is it's hard to explain, I think, to the fans, to the listeners, that there are places that are just special, right? And you just every time something happens, and it makes it so good that. But yeah, I have no explanation, but Every time we go there, it's a thrill.
And why? I mean, let's talk about that track, because I know it was longer. It was too long for Formula One at one point, right? And they had to shorten it. And it is a short lap. I mean, you watch qualifying, like, okay. But talk about the rhythm of that track, those center S's, that amazing, the left-hander that leads all the way a kilometer up to the start-finish line, uphill. There are some tracks as a driver in the car where you can gauge your relativity on your pace at every second around the track. It is one of those places, isn't it?
100%. And my best definition is it's a proper racetrack car track, but it's a go-kart track. It's like elevations. It's so quick. The lap is short, but also look at the variation of corners. And to me, we can go, okay, Spa has some similar. Every track you will have a similar corner, but then you look at the length of Spa, Nürburgring, or whatever track you want to pick. They're much longer. So for some reason, we made it was too long. Somebody had the idea, we made it probably a little shorter than most people like. And that, I think, made it so challenging and so intense, because it's one of the tracks, Justin, you drove a race car, but we need to try to explain for the people that never did. But it's always you never finish a lap thinking, man, I could have done a little bit more. But actually, it doesn't take that more if you try. So that's why you see huge crashes, big mistakes. And because it doesn't give you it never give you the confidence to say, I dominated the track or that lap.
Interesting. Well, let's dive into the race. Obviously, the first start, I love standing starts for some reason at that track as well. It's just uphill. You can see the cars ready to go. Lando, and I know you're a McLaren guy, but I think even if you weren't, he's got over his mental block on standing starts, hasn't he? He's got it crushed now, which makes me realize we're sportsmen, athletes. The power of the mind is so important, because he's not any better at starts than when he was messing them up last year and the year before. But now he knows with certainty he's going to pull off the line well, like a Max. I thought it was a great opening start. I love that first lap. Everyone was racing so well. Cars almost touching, not quite touching, overtaking everywhere. I thought it was fabulous. And then, of course, we had Bortoleto in the wall, and the yellow flag came out. It's tough, right, when you see your home favorite, a new young Brazilian driver, crack in the wall. God, he's got a new contract, Tony. Talk us through what the pressure on a young guy like that in that moment, and then to F it up twice in a weekend.
I mean, think about this. We need to go back decades ago when Senna was Senna and brought so much joy to that country, right? We're a third world country. I mean, a lot of people their only joy was to watch him win a Grand Prix and when he raised the Brazilian flag. We had Rubens, Felipe Massa, Felipe Nars, you name it. I mean, probably not going to be able to name all of it, but we've been trying to look for another Senna every year, every decade, which I don't think we're going to have one, right? We have the Hamiltons, but from Brazil. Then Bortoleto right now, lately from the young generation, talent-wise, I believe, is one of the best we had. But that doesn't mean that if he doesn't go to a big team, he's going to succeed in Formula One. But the pressure is now on him. Brazilians are very passionate. I don't need to say that. I think it's an understatement. So he's very young. His first year, his first home race. You go back to the psychological part. There is a lot of distractions. I mean, I've raced at home. I had to double concentrate and try to stay out of all the phone calls from friends and the attention. And I think that played a big role on him. And that is just, you're only going to get that with experience. Even looking at the way Senna used to be before the start there, how nervous, and because the entire place is like just making noise and screaming your name. And I'm not saying we're better than other people. We're just different, Justin. You know that. It only happens there. I mean, we have crowds, but like that, the entire place is screaming your name. And I think that is something that adds a lot to it. And I think it took a big toll on him. He felt the pressure on Saturday when he crashed. And then, this first lap crash is just, it's inexperience. But yep, it definitely, the pressure is unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's a quick kid. He seems very composed when I saw him in the paddock at Austin and listened to him talk. The future is not written for him, but at least he's in the right place. And, if you're going to mess up to do it in front of your Brazilian crowd, whoa. But let's talk about right up at the front on that restart. First of all, I was watching, as you probably were, when Lando was just doing his little weaving before he went right before the start line. You've done it in cut. Everyone's done that when you try and do the little weave back and then go. In my mind, I timed it exactly right. I was thinking he's going to go on the next sweep by. Would you have done that same rolling start? Would you have waited that late?
Yes, because there is a way to think about it. Like, if you go early, especially in a long straight like that, the draft, the slipstream, it's you're giving the guy a bigger chance to actually draft and pass you. So when it is a long straight, he did it right. He delayed as much as he could because on the next acceleration, your short period of draft is going to be much shorter, right?
Yeah.
And then they're not going to attack on the Senna-S. The Senna-S, we saw 3 wide and so on, it was the riskiest. And obviously he had, I think, the medium tires, and Antoneilli had the soft, if I'm not mistaken. So he had to cover all his bases. And he did everything right. He tried to warm the tires. Also, that weave, it wasn't just to warm the tires. It was to kind of like throw off whatever was behind him, right?
Yeah.
Because you're weaving and the guy's kind of relaxing and you're not paying attention, and he just went. And that means when you're in the control, you play a little bit of tricks. It's not illegal. He didn't do anything. He didn't jump the start. He didn't delay the start. It was, like you said, Justin, he's in I just actually spoke to Zach about this yesterday, how much of the mindset and how much stronger Lando just got in such a short period of time, because that's all it was.
Yeah.
Really. And then on the flip side, look at Piastri, right? So I wish, I think he would that too. I wish I had this maturity when I was younger racing, because I think it's how you handle the pressure. It's a lot bigger than any car setup. When you're that close, it's your mind. You're playing games. And so he played it right. He was calm, collected, knew what to do, and executed.
Yeah, for me, it's that increase in bandwidth that a driver gets when they get that experience, maturity, and talent. You know what I mean? You have the ability to deal with more, and you could just see Lando in that moment, and actually Kimi later. I want to talk about that. So let's talk about that first corner on the restart. And I'd love your viewpoint, and I've watched it like 10 times. What do you think? Oscar down the inside. It was wide open. It was like he had a red carpet laid out to go down there. Antonelli has a bad crash. Leclerc's on the outside. Lando's clean at the front. Run me through your interpretation and whether you thought even a 5-second penalty would have been too much, but he got 10. What's your thoughts?
Again, not remove myself from being a McLaren employee.
Yeah.
I'm talking about as a race fan. It was there was a gap there that you could fit another 2 cars there. So you have to go. Piastri had the inside, which has more grip because of the banking. Now, I think Antonelli was in the middle. And my rule in racing, if you're in the middle, no matter how much pride you have, you need to be the first one out, because nothing is good. The guy on the outside probably couldn't see, but also squeeze him, because that's what you do. You don't want to go in the dirt. And then they hit because Piastri ran out of room, because Antonelli squeezed him, because Leclerc actually try also to be on the circuit, clean part of the circuit. I disagree with the penalty, because I truly think that Antonelli had a hiccup, that he caused his own issue. And because of that, instead to try to save it right away, he would have probably had to remove himself being in the middle. That's my view. I don't think the 10 penalty, the 10 second was harsh. 5, I would probably made, okay, well, but no, it wasn't a banzai move that he didn't calculate it. He was all the way in, and then Antonelli kind of got squeezed by Leclerc, and, obviously what I'm trying to say, in my view, I think Piastri was the least wrong, if I can say that, because obviously paid the ultimate price that the car got demolished. So those two should have given Piastri more room when he was there, and it is such a Max Verstappen move, isn't it? You know what I mean? And then, but nowadays, I don't know if you agree with me. People know if Max is going, if you don't move, you guys are gonna crash because he doesn't care. And I think that's what. I think if it was Max there, some people would have moved, not because they disrespect Piastri, because they know, oh, we're going to crash. He's not going to lift.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And also something that someone said yesterday, one of the pundits on social media, locking up is not an indication of a lack of control. You have not lost control. And I watched this morning, twice, I watched Oscar's tire, his right tire locked up, front tire, but he did not deviate from the apex line. He ran up on the inside curve. So for me, there's no loss of control, is lock, understeer into the car outside. So, I mean, we don't have to, right? He was clean.
I mean, the quickest explanation, Justin, is this. He didn't misjudge the braking zone. What happened there, he broke late, didn't lock right away. So that means he was not late. And then when he saw Kimi starting to squeeze him, he squeezed the brake pedal a little harder. And with the banking variation, that wheel got up in the air a little bit and locked, but he didn't miss and went straight into it. He still made the corner with a little bit of Kimi's help, but that is because the gap that he went for, it started to get narrower, so he had to slow the car. So that's my explanation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the holistic view on it is, if you're Oscar Piastri, you must just be going, I don't know what else I can do, right? I mean, this is unraveling faster than a Christmas present with a 6-year-old, right? He cannot control it, and that was just another example. But I like he is very stoic. Right? He's not screaming on the radio. He's not MFing the stewards. He just gets on. And I like the radio transmission. We've still got this, Oscar, if you run to plan D or whatever it is. So, a quick regroup. And I always say that. I mean, it's a moment really to talk quickly about Ferrari and Leclerc, because there's no point in talking about them after this point. Leclerc gets taken out. Bang, the wheel goes off. Lewis is having an absolute dismal disaster at the back. John Elkin goes and says these drivers need to stop talking. That's just bullshit. That doesn't do anything. But it is a downward spiral for Ferrari, and I'm sure the end of the year can't come quick enough.
I mean, look, I think Ferrari is always going to be Ferrari, right? I mean, just you being involved your entire life with your family and Formula One and this and that. But look at the drivers that they... Like, Ferrari is always going to be Ferrari. You're never going to be bigger than Ferrari. That's what I'm trying to say. So look at Alonso, Vettel, Rubens. I mean, I've lived that with Rubens. It's such a, I don't know, the culture there. It's Ferrari. They're gonna protect it, and you're never going to be bigger than them. So no matter what, people are going to tell you what to do. The respect needs to be more you towards Ferrari than actually Ferrari towards you, unless, I guess, you're Michael Schumacher. And that's what's happening there. You know what I mean? The drivers are getting frustrated because they need to be vocal about it. These people don't want to talk about it because that's not what we do. And then obviously, I guess it takes a toll on the drivers, and all of a sudden, then a guy comes out of Brazil, they should talk less because they will do better. That tells you that how little the guy has an awareness of what the real issue is.
Yeah. Because
your drivers never really talk. Look at the history of Lewis. I mean, and that's when I hate for people. Now he's getting old. No, he's not. Lewis is not. He's still a very talented and one of the biggest talented race car drivers. Is the motivation you're giving Lewis and the car and this and that. That is, I think, is a huge battle of who is right, who is wrong, which is not going to get them anywhere. And then Leclerc has the pressure because he's been there forever. He's been in Formula One forever. Every guy that he was better or close are being extremely successful, and he's not. And they're going to blame him instead of blame themselves.
Yeah. Well, it's that story will have to unravel before the end of the year as well, because, they're starting to look at Behrman. The word is, Behrman maybe not next year, but we'll come back to him in a little bit. But Then my focus with Lando having checked out, I thought it was very interesting when Oscar was behind, not what Lando wanted to see. It's around lap 9. He's right behind him. And I'm thinking, oh, well, this could get a little more sporty. But again, full credit, Lando's bandwidth, application, he pulls out a second and a half, and that was it as far as I was concerned. But then it became the game of, let's watch Max. Let's watch Max making his way through the field. And
in the meantime,
19, 18, lap 14, he was 14. He was in the top 10 by lap 18, man. Lap 9, it was by lap 23, he was 4th. And suddenly there are possibilities. We've all had those races, I know you have, especially where you just can fly in traffic in a way that you feel faster than you have all weekend. I'd love to know what they did on the car. I know they'd put a new power plant in, and he started from the pit lane. But Tony, come on. He's going past Alonso like he's on a go-kart track. Put in perspective, as a driver of your caliber, what Max does when Max does what Max does.
Oh, he's relentless, first of all. He doesn't get defeated. The kid has zero emotion, compassion. I think that is a characteristic that if you look at, I just had a discussion in my house the other day, this weekend with my kids and my wife, as far as can you be nice and still, can you be Lando and win? Because Lando is really nice. Then that is Max. Do not care about anybody. You don't phase him, So Max qualified bad. I think the car was probably a little bit better, and there was a combination there that looked a lot worse than it was. But then they go, well, we'll change an engine. I think they found something overnight as far as like the setup, and they took a swing. And when you have a driver like Max, it's easier to make those decisions because he will put himself in the position that what he did. And then Max's mindset is like, I am going to go. And everything you called everything to yourself, right? I think Max had a good car, but in the same time, what gave him all those positions as well is like some people made some mistakes. Some people were I'm going to wait one lap. Max like, I'm not going to wait anything. And he actually capitalized on the gaps to be able to actually put himself in fourth position. And then he gave his strategy team and his entire team in the pits a couple options and windows to, I think we can do this, right? But it's Max. That's the fact is he is a way above a lot of the guys that are there for some reason, and he makes it work. He's make the car for himself, and it's a combination of everything. And I think we could spend an hour talking about people that were like that in their careers in Formula One. Schumacher when he went to Ferrari, and then Senna when he was a McLaren, and Hamilton and Mercedes. And it's one of those things. It's not luck. It's not just pure talent. The guy has a much bigger vision than just like, I know how to drive a race car. He captivates the team, builds the car that he needs for himself, doesn't take his teammates' opinion, doesn't care. It's just, I'm here to do my job. And I wish I could have done that myself, but not that good.
He's singularly aggressive. So, I have so much to talk to you about, and I know I've only got a few minutes with you, but from a McLaren perspective, I said it on the show a couple of times that, they're just going, we've got the fastest car, we got you two ace drivers, and that whole Max thing, I'm not going to belabor the Max thing, but from a McLaren point of view, no one, I'm sure Zach included and Stella, can write Max out until literally the last race, and if it's mathematically impossible, because he has already done the impossible. What does Zach say about that? They're not just saying, oh, that was a bad result, he's done.
No. Look at, you go 4 races ago, I think, or 3, that Stella and Zach said, Max can win the championship. And people were like, bah, you guys are just doing that to throw, you guys have it in the bag. Not once I've heard from Zach or Andrea that we have this championship. And if you look at Lando's reaction after the race in the radio, some people even argue, it's like, man, he's not even excited. No, he's focused because still 3 races to go. Max had taken a big chunk, like up until, and these guys are like, we got to keep at it. And then you cannot discard Max ever. Like, he will take it. And then I think that has been the mentality. Nobody's celebrating anything. We've obviously got to celebrate the Constructors' Championship, but now the drivers itself. And that's why, very controversial to some people, Zach and Andrea let those guys race, because that's the best way to do it. Because if we don't, then we get in the middle of each other, Max is going to take advantage, which happens a couple times. But I don't disagree with the mentality and the rules there as far as like, you guys got to go. And it's not because I'm in McLaren. I think races have to race. I have a hard time when it's the price you pay to have two big talents, but it doesn't sit well. I know it happens. You have agreements, this and that, but I mean, as a past race car driver, that will be good to be on one end of the stick and really bad to be on the other end of the stick.
Well, I have so many things to talk to you about, but I do want to talk about Antonelli. The kid was hailed as, the wonder kid. I felt he also found that next layer of bandwidth this weekend, the way he was warming up the tires behind Lando as they started the race, the way he defended from Max. He probably had Max's poster on the wall in his bedroom, not long ago, and dreaming of Formula One. Talk about Antonelli and how he raced this race and maybe what his future holds.
So think about this: a young kid talking about maturity, pressure, because like Toto and everybody's been putting a lot of pressure on him. Then gets this extra boost of confidence, which tells me how mature he is. He's only going to get better, Justin. He is not, what I mean? This kid has so much to grow, learn, experience, and then. A little bit of a message. I don't know if you agree with me. I would love to pick your brain on it. Look how late Toto actually decided to renew Russell. It's because I think Antonelli is getting there. And it's going to be like, okay, well, we need to decide here. And then Toto hammer him as a young kid. I mean, I cannot even imagine if I was, 17, 18. I don't think I could have handled that pressure myself back in the day. But kids nowadays are different. So I like it. I like it a lot. I think, obviously, we're only as good as this last race, right? Until then, people are, wow, do we need to send him home? We're going to send him somewhere else. And nope, to Haas, whatever. I don't know what they were talking about, but I like it. So let's see what he's going to do the last three. And because, obviously, it's towards the end of the season, he's learning more and more, getting more experience, getting more comfortable. It'll be interesting to see him next year, obviously, depending on what car Mercedes is going to give it to.
Yeah. Well, one last thing before you go. Lando now is in this unique position. He's just extended his lead in the championship. He is in a zone that we've never seen him in before. I like it a lot. I think he can pull off the championship. How would you drive if you were him? Because this is not easy for these next three races. If you contract, you start to fail, in my terms, in my mind, in racing. Right? The minute you hold back and you're nervous, what would your advice be if you were in his ear?
Stay out of social media. Don't listen to anybody that has anything that is not constructive to add. Take every race like you always did. You're racing to win. And then if you're not in a position to win, evaluate what's the best position to be to make most points out of it. But the initial mentality, we're going on the weekend to win.
I love it. Tony, hey, listen, buddy, thank you so much. I know you got to jump. Let's do this again. There's so much more to talk about.
Hey, I thought when I said half an hour, I just asked where my PR here is. It's only 30 minutes, which, I appreciate, but hey, it gives me an excuse to come back.
I can talk for longer, but her head's spinning on her shoulders right now. I know that. My producer's telling me that. Okay, buddy, we'll see you soon. Are you coming to Vegas?
No, I'm not, unfortunately. No.
Okay. But, all right. Bummer.
All right, mate.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah, thanks. Say bye.
Well, a pity we had to cut that short, but Tony has so much more to talk about. We're going to have to get him back. Great insight, as always, and a lovely tribute to our dear friend Gilles de Ferran as well. Happy birthday. Well, some of the things I wanted to mention about with him is, of course, we brushed on Antonelli, but also George Russell right up there all the time, and he's like a metronome, even if it's not always spectacular. If you actually isolated what he's doing, and from the internal, procedures and analysis at Mercedes, it must just look so good because he is just always up there. And very interesting dynamic how Kimi is actually quicker than him at this precise moment in the year. And obviously, qualifying is mano a mano. It's the time, especially with teammates, that effectively you have exactly the same equipment. You're laying it on the line in identical circumstances, and it's up to you. It's a very sobering thing, guys. I mean, to be honest, my qualifying in my career was pretty dismal, actually. The odd pole once in a while. But I was better in the races, and that's not how it works in Formula One. You've got to be able to hit an ace, and an ace in Formula One is beating your teammate on the grid. So I think there's a lot going on there. But overall, have you seen Mercedes' rhythmic procession to the front has given them second position in the Constructors' Championship at the moment, which I think is unbelievable. But then, of course, you got to look at Ferrari. Ferrari, just as we mentioned, compounding on their absolutely cataclysmic, I guess, is results at the moment, is the fact that with the Constructors' Championship being so important to them, Max, on his own, effectively, on his own performances, is now beating Ferrari in the Constructor Championship. So it's quite extraordinary. Let's talk about some of the advice that Tony was giving Lando, because I do think it's very sound. And if you reflect back on what he said to me at Austin when we talked, he's like, I just got to shut out the noise. I have to not listen to everybody, and I have to do my own thing. And I think some drivers, like Max, it's like rain on a tin roof. He doesn't hear it. Lando, he doesn't have that insulation. He has to create his own environment where he is totally safe from all that noise. And that really for him is, maybe getting off social media, although I think we did get a lot of exposure to his social media last week. But it's not necessarily him. It's just about him. I think going to the beach and playing topless volleyball is exactly what I would do if I wanted to get my mind on how to win the next race. Worked for him, didn't it? So I think it's about keeping his head down. And he said something to me that really resonated. He's like, I'm either going to win or I'm not. I'm not going to change the way I approach it. I'm just going to try and win every race I can. And I think that's the way he's going to do it. So let's just see what happens in the last 3 races. Remember, also one more sprint race. But the next one up is Las Vegas. And being here in Las Vegas, having just come off the back of the Las Vegas Concours, it's just such an energy here of Formula One right now, of the automotive culture. And we've got a show car in the middle of the lobby out here. Formula One cars are starting to appear. All the posters are everywhere in the elevators. And you can tell we are gearing up. And you only have to be outside on the street. I was looking down from my room this morning, and the grandstands are all in place. All the light trusses are up. It's just waiting for those concrete blocks to go in place and transform the Las Vegas Strip into one of the most exciting racetracks of the year. Of course, what we do in Las Vegas is entertain. It's the city where it comes alive. And while we're centered at the Wynn, obviously the entire Strip is on fire when it comes to activations. And here, well, as you'd expect at the Wynn, we have the best ones. We have LN4, which is Lando Norris's pop-up. That's actually happening right next door to me in the studio. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get him to pop in on his way by. Lewis Hamilton has his non-alcoholic Almelvi tequila, which I have ordered, and he's going to be here doing that. I think 12 of the top drivers are staying with us, as well as numerous team owners and a huge amount of sponsors and fans. And what's great, I mean, to give you, if you haven't been to the Wynn and seen where our studio is, people heading to the race have to actually walk past the studio. So we put our sponsors' videos up on the wall. Everyone gets to see it. I'm pretty proud of that. So it's all happening here, and it's going to be all about setting up one of the biggest parties of the year. The biggest problem for me is I wish it was the last race of the year. Wouldn't it be great to crown your champion in Las Vegas? I'm sure they'd rather do that than the Middle East. No disrespect to the Middle East, but I think we'll have more fun here. How are they going to go this weekend? Well, Max will be fast. We know that. It is not exactly the right kind of track for his car, but I think if you said that in the last half of the year, you were probably kind of wrong, because they seem to have got a grasp, not just in high-speed corners, but also in low-speed ones. I think he does have that I don't know, he's just destructive in his ability to wring the neck of the car and do what he wants and try and make it. He'll be very comfortable around here. Of course, George Russell, we know he loves this track. He'll be fast. Kimi, will he, if he outperforms George here? I think there's a little, I don't know, that's going to put one of those little, chisel a little notch in George's armor. And yeah, I wouldn't want to be beaten by Kimi around here either. So I think George will be on full performance mode. Ferrari, will it be their Hail Mary, guys? Is it going to be Charles Leclerc? He is quick around here. He's a winner around here, I think, unless I'm mistaken. And you never can count Ferrari out. And I think what we've learned from this year is qualifying can produce different moments of glory for different drivers. I would love to see him up at the front, but really, does it matter? It's just for Ferrari fans, it makes you feel good because it really has no impact on what's happening right at the front. I mean, I do think, though, that, and we all can agree on this, that the whole storyline will be around the strategic potential disaster management for McLaren. You've got Lando in front. Oscar could still win the championship. The spectre of Max looming large is right there. So no one can afford to back off. Lando, as we've just discussed, has to go one foot after the other, just try and dominate from pole and win. It's the easiest way to win a race. Be fastest in qualifying and win the race. And you can control it from there. It is a moment that Lando could extend his championship, but I don't think it's going to happen, the lead. I think Oscar's going to come back very strong and be right up there with him. And he's just one race win away from taking back the championship lead, depending on where Oscar finishes. So it's all to play for. Again, I think Oscar's going to come in incredibly strong. And if so, the championship will move to the next round. And I think it's highly conceivable. Let's, for fun, say this is going to go down to the wire. It's going down to the last round. That would be great. Well, obviously, it being Las Vegas, our studio being here, the SiriusXM studio in the Wynn, hopefully we're going to get some of our guests into the studio. And I already have lined up our great friend Ruth Buscombe will be joining me, and we're going to be doing our first show of the week. Next week will be all about the strategy, all about the intrigue, the gossip. She has a finger on the pulse. She's a great friend of Drive to Win, and she'll be sitting right there, which makes it even more fun in the studio. So we'll be bringing that to you. I actually have a wonderful high-profile executive Tag Heuer moment here on the Friday. Some of the Formula Academy girls are going to be in here as well, and we're going to see. Rumor is Jenson Button's going to be in the house. So we're going to hopefully get him in here. And on Sunday after the race, my show for next week will be my dear friend Mika Hakkinen joining me in studio, complete with hangover, I am sure, because everyone parties after Vegas. Well, thank you to Tony and the Wynn Las Vegas for having us, as always, in the SiriusXM studios. And thank you to you. I can't wait for next week. See you then.